Bill Shakespeare Project presents This Week in Shakespeare for the week ending Monday, October the 8th, 2018. Hola, Bartophiles, I'm Bill, and welcome to the 215th episode of This Week in Shakespeare, a video release brought to you by the Bill Shakespeare Project. Now today I'm wearing my No Museum Shakespeare t-shirt, which is available from our Redbubble page. Now if you have any Shakespeare tees you'd like to see me wear on a future This Week in Shakespeare video, leave a comment or send me an email at bill@thebillshakespeareproject.com and I'll get you my address. I'd love to be wearing your gear on a future video. But enough about the future, back to the present and the past. This is our weekly opportunity to let you know about the latest and greatest in Willie Shakespeare headlines, coming at you every Tuesday because Tuesday is News Day. The goal here is to hit you with a quick blast, no more than 10 minutes tops, of Bard-related news. Plus, we'll try to serve up some historical dates for what were the past 7 days of the year. So, this week's news stories included: Entertainment Weekly ran an interview with Emma Thompson on the release of the Amazon Prime BBC King Lear, in which she plays Goneril. Broadway World ran the announcement by the American Shakespeare Center in Staunton, Virginia, of Year 3 of their Shakespeare's New Contemporaries project, which is calling for submissions of companion pieces for All's Well That Ends Well, Henry V, The Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, Titus Andronicus, and Twelfth Night. Oh baby, this sounds cool. The Chicago Sun-Times reported that after 13 years as an all-male troupe and one of Chicago's most acclaimed improv teams, the Improvised Shakespeare Company announced that its next round of auditions later this fall will be open to all genders for the first time. I've seen these guys perform on stage and they are hilarious. I cannot wait to see what a little female inspiration brings to the mix. The Weekly Standard ran an interesting op-ed on the promise and pitfalls of cross-gender casting in Shakespeare. DC Metro Theater Arts reviewed The Comedy of Errors by Annapolis Shakespeare Company, playing in Maryland through the end of the month, calling the steampunk-flavored production a hilariously funny and inventive reimagining that is a mashup of Doctor Who, the Marx Brothers, and the Three Stooges, which sounds like a blast to me. Vulture reviewed King Lear by Amazon Prime, BBC, giving it a favorable review and saying that the heavily edited film captures the heart of the story and feels as current and timeless as a nightmare. For an alternate view of the film, check out my own review on the blog. Capital Public Radio out of Sacramento, California reviewed As You Like It by Davis Shakespeare Festival, running in Northern California through next weekend, saying that it is a magical, thoughtful production. Urban Milwaukee reviewed Titus Andronicus by Voices Found Repertory, which just closed its run in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, giving the play a favorable review, citing its standout performances and emotional depth. And finally, DC Metro Theater Arts reviewed The Comedy of Errors, again, but this time by Shakespeare Theater Company, running through November the 4th in Washington, D.C. This one, they say, delivers entertainment. Now let's take a look back on the last 7 days and how they relate to Shakespearean history, both his and the history in his plays. On October the 2nd, 1452, Richard III was born at Fotheringhay Castle, the 12th child of 13 children to Richard Plantagenet, Duke of York. When his father died at the Battle of Wakefield, Richard was only 8 years old. He was crowned King of England on July the 6th, 1483, at the age of 30, after the sons of his older brother Edward IV were declared illegitimate. He was killed at the Battle of Bosworth Field just 2 years later, and he was the subject of a notorious hack job by Shakespeare. On October the 3rd, 42 BCE, the first and relatively indecisive Battle of Philippi was fought between the conspirators against Julius Caesar and the triumvirate of Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus. The conspirator Cassius ordered his servant Pandarus to kill him, committing virtual suicide. The second Battle of Philippi, 20 days later, was more decisive and saw the defeat of Brutus and the rest of the conspirators. On October 4th, 1539, the marriage treaty between Henry VIII and Anne of Cleves, his fourth wife, was signed, and they would be married on July 6th of the next year. Also on this date, in 1923, American actor Charlton Heston was born. He starred in two different film versions of Julius Caesar, both as Mark Antony in 1950 and 1970, then played Antony again in a film he directed himself of Antony and Cleopatra in 1972. Kate Winslet was born on October the 5th, 1975. She played Ophelia in Kenneth Branagh's 1996 film adaptation of Hamlet. On October the 6th, 1892, the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson died. One of his many works was a poem entitled Mariana, which takes as its subject the character from Shakespeare's Measure for Measure. On October the 7th, 1993, British actor Cyril Cusack died. He was a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company in the 1960s, and he played Grumio in Zeffirelli's Taming of the Shrew from 1967, as well as Aegeon in the Comedy of Errors for the BBC Collected Works series. His daughter Sinead is an actress as well and has quite the Shakespearean resume as well. Also on this date, in 1368, Lionel of Antwerp, son of Edward III and uncle to Richard II, died. Shakespeare has Richard somewhat implicated in his poisoning, though historically it was probably his father-in-law. October the 8th has two Shakespearean-related dates. In 1415, Henry V began his march from Harfleur to Calais. His weakened army was forced to fight the French army at Agincourt, as depicted in Henry V. In 1968, Franco Zeffirelli's adaptation of Romeo and Juliet was released. And that was your Week in Shakespeare, brought to you by the Bill Shakespeare Project. If you've enjoyed this news review, tell a friend and hit the subscribe button to keep from missing these news, reviews, and history videos. For our daily blog and previous Twiz episodes, including links to the news stories we've covered this week, as well as the real Bill Shakespeare Project podcast, check us out at thebillshakespeareproject.com. And we'll catch you next week.